Well, here we go, the Hunting Landman podcast. I'm looking up the number right now. We're on about 43 or something like that. I can't find the number. But anyway.
42.
42. I was close.
Something like that. It's very close. Yeah.
We got cameraman Caleb on here, and we got Hunter in the studio also. We got a pretty cool topic today. But before we go any further, as always, the Hunting Landman podcast is brought to you by Southern Ag Credit. They take great care of us. I'm doing some deals with them right now. We got a really big one that Caleb and I teamed up on, and our broker Scott Lindsay, Deer Creek. Got that under contract, so that's we're working with Southern Ag Credit on that deal. So they can take 30 acres, or they can take, like that one is 1,200 acres. They can take it all. And Caleb, thank you for being on here today. This is going to bring me to my first topic, being that we talked about Deer Creek. This episode is called Early Season Bucks. And, you know, what we're doing, this is being recorded, what is this, June 28th. So we're midsummer. We're not that far away from deer season. It's 150 degrees outside, but we're not that far away. I was going to give y'all a real estate report real quick. Market's hot. We got 10 pending. We got 2 closings this week. What day is that closing you have this week? When is that? Friday. Okay. I couldn't remember. Anyway, Caleb's got a closing on Friday. I've got one on Friday as well. And we just got a lot going on, man. 10 pending, some big stuff, some small stuff. A lot of good listings coming online. And I think we're headed into a really, really hot third and fourth quarter. I really do. And I don't mean heat, even though it is hot, but I think it's going to be good.
And even the residential market's picking up. I'm keeping up with a lot of that in the Natchez area, and that's even picking up as well. There's a lot of new listings coming online.
Mm-hmm. So. It's good right now. It really is good. Hunter, if you will, hit Caleb's audio up just a little bit, same as mine. I was having a hard time hearing him on the mic. Anyway, market's good, man. It's always a good time to invest in real estate, and if it can go from 4% interest to 8% interest and the market still stays good, you know that's a good investment, and that's where we're at right now. All right, early season bucks. All right, I thought this was a really good topic because that's what we're getting ready for. I mean, it ain't no ifs, ands, buts about it. We're in deer mode. In fact, when we get done with this, we're going to go, we got to look at a tract of land real quick that I'm looking to purchase. And then we're going to check some trail cameras that I put up on some salt licks. I put out some backwoods lick and grow, and we're going to go freshen those sites up and check those cameras, make sure everything's rolling, because deer are just starting to get where we can start maybe identifying shooters, who they are. Now, some of them are barely at their G2s, but some of them are. Caleb saw one the other day. He thought his frame was basically done, which means, you know, maybe his tines, of course, aren't grown, but we can start here in the next couple of weeks identifying shooters. And that goes into our topic. So what, you know, if you're like us and a lot of people, you know what made it through the season, or what deer you'll be hunting next year. Okay, well, there's so many things you can do now to create success for October and now in Mississippi, the velvet season. So, you know, some of the things we're doing, for instance, on a tract of land I run right down the road on 284, we put in those couple food plots. Mm-hmm. We've done some work. We got a little bit more work to do. It's always, you know, I'm not saying that equipment and stuff always bothers deer. Sometimes it does. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it doesn't. A lot of times it doesn't. Let me say that again. But if you got to do some work, why not go ahead and do it now so you can focus on more deer things? If you're building food plots, expanding food plots, liming food plots, you know, if it takes a long time for lime to come active. Now, something we're doing, you know, with the deer grow products. Dude, speaking of early season, how would y'all think about the pea field on the way in?
They're looking green and lush.
They are. I've gotten a couple good rains on them. So I plant Bachelor Pad from Backwoods Attraction, and what Bachelor Pad is it's iron clay peas, are called cow peas, Alice clover, which is a summer clover. A lot of people don't know about Alice clover. It's one of my favorite products in Southwest Mississippi to plant in the summer for deer, and joint vetch. So 3 of the best Mississippi, Louisiana, Southeastern Conference products you can plant. They're doing good. I've got 5 acres out here coming up good. I got another rain on them yesterday. And, man, whatever I did, if it's the deer grow and no-till or it's the backwoods, something's working because it's coming good.
It's a combination of using a bunch of good products.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, if you're going to take the time to do it, you know, we fertilized good. we got our soil right, and we planted good seed, and we covered it and took good care of our ground. So a lot of good things going on. And these are the things you can do early season to create success. So I planted that field. I still have some more bachelor pad. I'm going to plant another field or two here around the house a little closer to the season. Just kind of, I'm feeding them all summer with that big field, and hopefully it'll continue to do good on into September, October maybe. But I'm going to plant some in my smaller food plots, more killed plots, a little closer to where I think we'll be killing them. And Ryan Wascom is actually going to be planting some too. I got him some seed he's going to be doing too. So we're all gearing up. You know, we're establishing shooters with mineral sites, feeders. You know, we're all feeding that new, the new backwoods. I'm drawing a blank. It's got my face on the bag.
The Protein Plus.
Protein Plus, yeah. Protein Plus, and the deer eating it good. I've also got some of my spots going with the roasted soybean, the Flame Kiss soybeans. And so that's something else you can do this time of year. You know, figure out if you've never introduced your deer to a certain type of feeder or something, you can kind of trial and error.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I got some questions.
All right. Here we go. Okay, so Caleb, a little background on Caleb. Caleb grew up hunting in small tracts of land, a lot of leased, and a whole lot more public ground. So since he's been working with me and hunting with me, you know, we're hunting a lot more private ground. So a lot of these things come more into play. And I think we can learn something from the questions that Caleb's going to ask, because I think it's the same questions a lot of y'all will ask. And, you know, he can take some of the knowledges he's gotten from hunting public ground and things like that and apply it to this, and some of the knowledge that I hope he's learning from me and learn himself on this private ground stuff. And it makes us better hunters, and it makes us better agents, because we are practicing what we preach, and our clients, we're not playing land realtor.
Yeah. And I mean, there's so much you can learn about deer at the end of the day. And like deer that walk around on 36,000 acres of public land generally act a little bit different than deer that act on a 2,000 acre, ranch or something like that. They just act different because they see more people. They respond to feeders differently. Deer in the middle of a big public piece that have never seen a feeder or a truck or anything, they respond differently to a truck when it drives by, or when a feeder, if they hear it go off. So there's a lot that can be learned just about the animals in and of themselves. So I wrote down some questions, and this is questions that I don't necessarily have because I feel like I know the answer to now, but it's more of things that I feel like we need to address. So 3 topics. I'll go ahead and expose them now, and then we'll get to them. All right? We're going to talk about... Yeah, I'm going to expose one real quick. We're going to talk about feeders, food plots, and cameras, okay, and how those come into play to help you be successful. Preseason, early season, and then right in the middle of the rut. All right, so first, let's talk about feeders. Let me say this. A lot of people in the South, if you're like me, you don't hunt over feeders because you grew up on public land or whatever, get over it. If you're not baiting, you waiting, right?
That is Rack Buck Elations 322.
That's it. And look, right, wrong, or indifferent, okay, I don't care how you feel about baiting. We're in this together. We're all hunting. You can hunt how you want to hunt. If you want to hunt over a feeder or not over a feeder, whatever, dude. We got enough people trying to take our guns and take our hunting rights. Get over it. We're in this together, all right?
Armstrong 2024.
That's it. So look, feeders in the South, they make or break you a lot of times. And, of course, feeders play a big part because of where we're at in Southwest Mississippi. But the questions I have for you, okay, how do you go about finding out how your deer respond to feeders, whether that's a trough feeder, whether that's a spin feeder, or whether it's a gravity feeder? What are you doing to find out how your deer are going to respond to it? Because, look, some deer prefer one type of feeder, some deer prefer another type. What do you do, and when do you trial and error? So how do you trial and error, and when do you trial and error?
Right now, as hot as it is, deer are not eating the amount of protein that they will or feed in general because they don't move as much, and it's so hot. I'm hearing that from my clients, and I'm seeing it on my cameras too. They're just hot. They're not trying to move a whole lot right now. I think the best time to trial and error is when the deer are the hungriest. You know, figure out what they're doing. February and any time preseason, you know, you can have a lot of problem if you go stick a feeder out on, you know, 2 weeks before deer season. You don't know how the deer are going to respond to it.
That's right.
You can have a lot of problem there. Something I like to do if it's a new area that I don't know anything about. If there's any trail camera pictures from the previous lessees or owners, take a look if their pictures are in front of what kind of cameras or what they're feeding. Ask questions.
Yeah, that's
neighbors.
Savvy. Yeah.
Neighbors. If the neighbors are using a boss buck feeder or spin feeder or whatever they're using, guess what? The deer are already used to them.
So if you got a neighbor you don't like and you don't want them to kill your deer, lie to them about what feeder you're using. That works.
You see the outlaw's coming out in him. But yeah, so local knowledge. And look, I'm going to say most places in Southwest Mississippi and in Louisiana, they've seen some type of feeder. Now, you can do all this stuff, and some of them, I've seen it in high fences, I've seen it in low fences, whatever. Some of them ain't going to walk up to the feeder most of the time. That's just how they're. And some of them are dummies. Some of them will walk up to it the first day you put it out, first hour you put it out. Every one of them is different. Caleb said this earlier today. Personalities. Everyone's personality is different. But that's the stuff that you can do early season right now is figuring out, like, we're going to check these salt licks in a little bit. Like, we're about to learn a lot about these deer. Hopefully, you know, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to identify these deer and we'll be able to identify these deer and start learning their patterns, because this is on a track we're going to check them on where Caleb hunted last year. And, you know, we know these deer are there, but we don't know a lot about them. They're not like the track where I've killed the deer the last 2 years. Caleb and I hunted so much last year. I know a lot about those deer, where they come. But this is fun, and we're learning, and every place is different. And I'll tell you right now, I've got a spin feeder out and a boss buck feeder out with protein in it that I can see on my revealed trail camera. And guess what? They ain't hardly touching that boss buck. Now, the does, there's one pretty good buck. I can't tell what he is yet, come to the spin feeder, but it's not, it probably ain't going to be where we kill the deers over that spin feeder.
That's exactly right. And I had one on that track last year.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have nighttime pictures of a good buck at that spin feeder last
they're
year.
Just, you know? They're just not doing it. Now, I did see from the property line, the neighbor has some boss bucks, and I know one other neighbor has some big spin feeders. I don't think that those big deer that we're getting on camera are going to be killed over any type of feeder based off of what I've seen now. I think those deer will be killed over, you know, on a trail, a crossing, or probably on one of those food plots, and probably a trailer crossing coming or going from one of those food plots we're building. That's what I think. There's a couple little transition zones too, little bottlenecks and stuff that could something else we didn't even bring up, like on that track. I wish they were cutting it now, but look like I'm going to get some timber cut in August. It's looking like when it's going to get cut, so that's going to throw another wrench into things. It ain't the end of the world, but, you know, it will disturb and change things for a little bit.
Right.
So that's going to be something else we have to deal with, but I need to get the timber cut, and it is what it is. But feeders in general, trial and error, man. Do your homework, figure out what they like. I like to start my feeders with corn no matter what time of the year, because, look, deer eat corn. I don't care. They like corn. So start with corn and, you know, before you start protein, because deer have a learning curve with eating protein. So if you get them eating out of a feeder, start it with corn, then slowly mix in maybe one filling, fill it, you know, 80-20 corn protein, and then go to 70-30. So, you know, and eventually you can get to straight protein. But, man, deer that has never eaten protein, they're not naturally going to eat pellets most of the time.
And another thing too, you know, I can see where, because deer have all these different personalities and that makes them what they are, it'll probably change year to year. You know, if your big 5-year-old that you're hunting this year, once you kill him, the 4-year-old up and comer, he may be totally different and polar opposite. So don't get lazy. Be versatile and be willing to adapt and put the work in. And you know, I feel like you'll kill more. Case
in point, where I killed last year with a deer we were hunting, we had 2 additional stands we had put up, and I'd been hunting that spot for years. But we put up 2 different stands, ended up killing on the spot in the first sit and stand Caleb and I hung. So that is you know, you never get lazy, figure it out. You know, I've been hunting this place for 10 years, and I hung those stands to kill those deer on a different wind. later for this episode we're working on, Hunter's going to put on a kill. I had on 7-year-old buck, big 8 here in Southwest Mississippi, killed him in the morning, and it was a trial and error thing. I figured out that these deer didn't mind eating at this barn, and so I had a feeder out there, and sure enough, a big 7-year-old deer in the morning came. I had a cell can up, so I was watching when hogs came. I went in there at 4 a.m. and got in the stand, so it didn't get lazy, trial and error. And so these are the things we're practicing what we're preaching here. But go ahead with your next questions,
okay,
Caleb.
Number 2, food plots. A lot of people, their food plots, one thing I want to talk about, size. Look, there's good with having small food plots, but there's also good with having big food plots. A lot of it depends on how big the track you're on. What size is it? Is it 60 acres? Is it 600? Because that's going to ultimately depend on how big your food plot's going to be allowed to be. The terrain is also going to come into effect. But let's talk about food. Right now you've planted a summer plot, okay? What are you planting? When do you plant? And how do you determine, whenever I say when, I'm being very specific, not just month, right? I'm talking about weather. All right, so go into detail about what you're planting in the summer, ultimately what you're going to plant in the fall, and why, the difference in your big plot and then in your small plot.
So, a lot of question there. Okay, size. First of all, bigger's better. I agree. I agree. I'm a bigger, better food plots. Work what you got. I've got a 10-acre field in my front yard that I made. Not everybody can do that. Your terrain a lot of times doesn't allow you to do that. But first of all, a couple things. When we're talking about food plots, first of all, groceries for deer. Mm-hmm. If you can create what your neighbor doesn't have, and let's say your neighbor doesn't have any 2, 3, 4, 5 acre food plots. So if you can create what your neighbor doesn't have, you can get deer to come to your plot that he can't get, especially if you treat it right. So you have the groceries. If you got to have enough acreage to have enough groceries to bring in the girls. So we'll bring in the bucks during the rut, and those bucks will know that they can go get a full belly. And over years and generations, the bigger deer from larger areas will know if they come there, they're going to get a full belly and they're going to be able to find a girlfriend. So
more likely to live on your place rather than just traverse through it.
Well, I would say, and more likely to traverse, because if his home range for his whole life, is 2 miles away, but he's been over to your place a couple times and, hey, man, they give me a little pressure over here. I know where I can go get plenty of food and plenty of girls. He may end up homing there. Maybe they cut some timber over there, or maybe somebody moves in a house close to there. So, but bigger is better. I'm not saying you can't kill them. And look, I'll say this. I don't agree with anybody who says smaller better. And I know people that do, that know how to kill deer. I disagree, but hey, that's your opinion. My opinion is bigger is better. Now, we got to be able to kill these deer, especially if we're bow hunting. Mm-hmm. Rifle hunting, not that big a deal. I've got that 10-acre field. That's not a field that we hunt. I mean, we do, but not really. Got it for a dove field. I got it for a big field I can have a lot of food in to keep a lot of deer on my place. And I like seeing deer coming in. Y'all have seen them, deer in and out of the driveway. I just like that. The kill plots are 2 to 3 acres. I got them on both ends of the place. And that's how I set up a lot of places. So, bigger's better as far as what we're planning. Now, if you're going all out and you're saying, Slade, I want to feed my deer good, I want to do everything, man, anytime May and on, when you got some good rain coming, you got your soil ready, get it planted. I like that bachelor pad product that I talked about earlier, cow peas, alleys, clover, joint vets, good products. Soybeans are good, but deer seem to go to soybeans faster, and it's harder to get them up. So you better have plenty of acreage or put an exclusion fence. An exclusion fence is always good. Now, if you notice, this is the first year I planted peas out there. The deer, I've been out there looking every day. The deer have not figured out what they are yet. Pretty normal. Same product next year, once the deer figure them out, they're going to have a hard time getting. I'll probably have to plant all 10 acres right there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you can overwhelm the deer with have so much. Yeah, they'll eat a lot of them, but they're just growing faster. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That joint vetch and that Alice clover, it should take the browse a little better than the peas and stuff, dude. If y'all hear Rafe in the background, he just really wants to be on the podcast, but he can't talk yet, so it's tough.
That's right. Now talk about the difference. Okay, so just from my experience last year, what worked in Missouri didn't work here, and vice versa.
Yes, we're so what I've been talking about thus far is basically here in Southwest Mississippi. You know, when you got ag fields and things like that, totally different. You know, totally different. A lot the same, but a totally different as far as size of food plots and all that kind of stuff. Totally different. As far as product now, as far as you know, what I just talked about, it's more summer, and of course you can use those plots to kill deer early season. But once we get the first frost, you know, those products are gone. In the fall, I like to have something. I'm gonna go back to your question on the Midwest. In the fall, I like to have something in my area. The Big Three. It's actually a product called Big Three from Backwoods. Is ryegrass, oats, and wheat. You're gonna have a green plot. It's gonna come up, and deer are gonna like it. Mm-hmm. Now, not some of that stuff is not as nutritious. They have the product called Big Three Plus Clover. They have red clover and white clover. That's a great product. Some people's deer, a lot of places that I hunt don't, but some people's deer will eat the brassicas that come in like the trophy acre and sugar rush and stuff like that. My deer aren't crazy about it. Never have eaten the brassicas a whole lot. Now, Missouri?
Crush.
Oh, that sugar rush. What Ryan see, 50 deer in one hunt?
Yeah, it was like 30-something deer in the food plot at one time.
Yeah, like count them at one time. And this was a 2-acre food plot.
Yeah.
And dude, and everywhere we planted up there, they absolutely murder the trophy acre and the sugar rush. And what that is turnips, sugar beets, rape, that kind of stuff. They love it. So different. And look, I'm sure in Kentucky it may be different, and I'm sure in eastern Colorado it may be different. You know, but you know, these are the places we hunt, so that's what we're talking about.
So just like corn, figure out what works. Mm-hmm. Just like with feeders, trial and error, figure out what works for that spot.
Going back to the feeding, I forgot to mention something. Okay, in Mississippi, it has to come out of a feeder to be legal. Mm-hmm. So that's why we talk about feeders so much. Now, if you're just teaching deer, look, deer love rice bran and corn right on the ground. So if you can do that legally in your state, that's how you get them there first.
That's a fact. That's 100% fact.
And I'll tell you this about baiting, since we're talking about it. Spread out corn versus in a pile, deer like better. It's more natural for them to be feeding in something scattered out. So keep that in mind.
They won't eat it as fast.
Right. And it's more natural for them, and it's better from a CWD standpoint. You know, they're feeding more naturally, not all in one spot. And if you do get a rain or anything like that, it's not all getting wet in one spot. You know, it's
molding
more
and stuff.
More natural. And if you're trying to get a shot, you know, they've been moving around a little more.
That's it.
But anyway, or a guy told me.
Yeah.
Guy told me one time. But anyway, going back to the food plots, but I definitely look, you can plant the best product or whatever like that. If it don't come up and it ain't green, the deer ain't coming to it. So that's why I like the Big Three Plus Clover. Dixie 6 is what we planted here at the house last year. I forget what all Dixie 6 has in it, but it's got a little rye, a little wheat, little oats, and it's got some rape. It's a really good product. And if I had to say what my clients in the South like the best of the Backwoods line, Dixie 6 is probably it. That's the one I get more comments on than anything. Hey, I love the Dixie 6. It works good. So apparently it's working for people. As far as you talked about when to plant, okay.
Specifically. And I'm asking based on like weather.
Okay, let's take summer, winter. No, I do not put seed in the ground and cover it unless there's good rain in the forecast.
Exactly.
You're wasting your time. Now, there's some people out there that may work offshore or only have this weekend to plant. I mean, you can risk it, but if you don't have any rain in the forecast, that seed, if you don't have extremely good soil moisture or that seed doesn't get wet, it is not going to germinate. And if it does have enough to germinate and then you don't get rain, the deer are going to nip it off or you're going to die. And that's more with summertime stuff. It can apply to wintertime stuff. And the reason I say that is winter, typically you get more rain.
Now, we didn't plant here last year till like October 15th.
Which is pretty normal for me.
Yeah.
So let me tell you why. I'm actually going to do it a little earlier this year because I'm doing some of this summer. And look, my house right here, the Hunting Land Man testing grounds, I'm more than anything, I'm testing. So I know that the products that I recommend on this podcast and on this show and to my clients is stuff that works. Look, if a guy comes to me with a sponsorship tomorrow and it's something that I'm not going to recommend my clients and it doesn't work, I'm not going to even take the sponsorship because
we've actually done that.
Yeah, it doesn't work for us. So anyway, now typically, and I'm talking about right here in Southwest Mississippi, and it probably anywhere in the SEC, I like to plant my fall stuff about October 10th or later. Let me tell you why. First of all, armyworms. Don't usually have to worry about them. That's when all the farmers plant their ryegrass. And who knows more about planting than all of us deer hunters? The farmers. That's kind of the rule. We don't plant our ryegrass down. Now, a lot of times, if you got some rain in the forecast, you can get in there. You can get in there in September and get it done. You know, middle or late September, you're probably okay. But sometimes you're going to get bit dry weather or mainly with armyworms. Didn't have armyworm problems last year. Have not heard of any this year. 2 years ago, they were the worst they've ever been throughout the country. But you know, it's a delicate situation because if you can get them in on September the 10th and get some rain and stuff, oh man, those first 2 weeks of bow season, they coming in good, deer coming in good. You're not having to get in there and do anything. Vice versa, if you just go clip your field and there's natural clovers and things out there that they're eating and you got some feed in the field, you know, a feeder in the field, most of us do, they're still coming out there and not a lot's changed. Deer know the game. They know when those tractors and stuff start coming and disking and, you know, hey, something's going on here. But anyway, there's some, also saying that when you go disc that field, something about that fresh dirt. Y'all ever notice that? Good Lord. Don't matter if it's a dozer or a disc. They love that fresh dirt. They come to see what's going on. But, you know, if you get out there and you disc, you know, say you get your ground ready the first couple weeks of October, and then you plant October 10th, 15th, whenever you see the rain in the forecast, you're usually pretty good. You know, and typically that middle October like that, our acorns start falling a lot, so the deer have some other things to eat. Now, hunting-wise, it can get a little tougher. But, you know, cool fronts in October, even in Southwest Mississippi, are really good to hunt. They, you know, if you got a deer patterned, he'll maybe daylight, you know, at a first cold front in October, something like that. Still, if I had to pick velvet season, of course, that's a new thing. But typically in Southwest Mississippi or Louisiana, that first couple days of October, man, that's when a bunch of big buck killers kill their deer.
They're still on those feed patterns and bachelor groups.
And if you treat them right, you're the only thing that can affect them. Let the weather get right. Let the wind get right. It takes 1 day to kill them and 1 day to spook them. That, I can't say that. I need that on a T-shirt. It takes 1 day to kill them and 1 day to spook them. Case in point, Kansas last year. We went in on them two giants in 1 day and we killed them. Could have killed both of them. Now, we went hunting the day before. We really weren't hunting them. We weren't in the area, and we've got to let the wind get right. Boom. 2 years ago, I was hunting a big deer. I killed big wide deer. I killed right down the road. We waited until the first north wind, which was October 5th and 6th. So I didn't go hunting the first 5 days. On October 5th and 6th, I went in there both those days with a north wind, and I ended up killing that deer. So I went hunting. Went and shot a doe or a hog or something somewhere. I went hunting, but I didn't go hunt the deer that I was hunting. I let him get right. Then we slid in there and we killed him because you can spook him or kill him. I'd rather kill him.
All right, so let's talk about number 3, cameras. First thing I want to say, if you're not using a cell camera, it's about like if you're not using a feeder. All right, you're backing up tremendously because there's so much value in knowing what's going on your property right here in the palm of your hand.
Speaking of.
Now, okay, we use Reveal. Obviously, you know, they work with us through the TV show and everything, but really and truly, they have a great product. I don't know if it's the best because I haven't used all the other cameras, but it's dang good and it works like a charm, especially with that solar panel. My question with cameras, different times of the year. Right now, we're at the end of June. We're in the middle of the summer. Where are you putting your cameras opposed to like whenever you're getting fresh inventory after deer season in February? Where are you putting them in the middle of the rut? You know, are you taking them off your feeders, putting them on trails? Talk about where you're putting your cameras on different times of the year so that you can kind of figure these deer out.
Well, okay, let's just go. Let's start at the first. Okay, let's start after deer season. We'll go into deer season.
Get inventory.
All right, so February, I want to know who made it. Who made it, what they're doing. And a lot of times in the South, you're going to have some kind of secondary rut, and you're going to get the cameras Caleb and I did last year. We went and put up 3, and basically was just on trails. Where we know deer, we're feeding or crossing a ditch or something like that. That works because I'm taking usually inventory for several weeks,
right?
And I don't have to have like right in your face. You just got to walk by.
That's kind of when you don't necessarily have to have a cell camera.
Yeah, and a lot of times I don't have them. I just put my other cameras there. So you know who made it. If I had to say when cameras are least important, when their horns fall off till about right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now is when we're starting to figure everything out. Right now is when I've got them on salt licks and feeders, figuring these deer out, crossings. If there's a specific deer I'm trying to target, which I've enjoyed more the last couple years than any time in my life. I don't know, it's just fun to get a deer and figure him out. And you and especially with these cell cameras, you get personal with them. Mm-hmm. Like, whenever you're looking at your wife and your kids in the bed going to sleep at night and you're looking at your buck, he's kind of part of your family. But he's really good to eat for the family too. But I mean that, like the difference in going click, 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 click on your computer versus looking at him every day, 1 or 2, 4 or 5 pictures on your phone. I don't know. You just learn more about him because then you're like, oh my gosh, he's moving a lot tonight. Why is that? Then you go look at the moon phase. Then you go look at the wind.
Exactly.
All that stuff. I tell you this, and I'm not the only guy listening. If somebody's listening to this and this applies to them, please put a comment on YouTube or put a comment on social media right here. You can put this on social media. I bet I'm not the only guy who wakes up in the middle of the night and checks his trail cameras. Now, I'm not talking about this time of year, but during deer season when it's like the rut or right before opening day or something. If I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, roll over in the bed, my brain goes, I wonder if he's standing there. And I'll go look. Mm-hmm. And I'm not the only one who does that.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Mm-mm. And I've done it before. I remember years ago when cell cameras first came out, I was hunting this big deer right down the road down here, and I was self-filming. And I woke up at like 4 a.m., probably used bathroom or something. And I saw he was there. And I knew that if he was there, he wouldn't be there till after daylight. Mm-hmm. He would probably go away. I got up, took my bath, got my hunting clothes on, and I sat there out 150 yards from where I was going in. And when he walked away, I slid in and got up in the stand. And he actually came in right before daylight and left before I get enough camera lights to shoot. But it was like perfect,
right.
And I had a really good trail. I could slip in with very minimal noise, and I had raked the trail. And I remember thinking like, oh, these cell cameras. And that was when it was a text message. It was
right.
like, it was not like really good stuff. Like the reveals and things are in all the apps now. But so right now we're getting inventory, we're figuring out where these deer are going, what salt licks to be focusing on, where and a lot like budget, okay. So if okay, there's no shooters over here, you're probably not gonna put time budget and money budget maybe into that food plot or that right. summer food plot or that feeder, because I've got to I've only got blank number of dollars and time to spend. I'm gonna spend it over here where all the shooters are. Deer from right now until October are the easiest time to figure out who's around, the bachelor groups and things like that. Because once you get them coming to a salt lick or feed, they're coming. Yeah. They're coming. And you get a lot of pictures of them, and it's fun. The big bachelor groups, a lot of times you'll have several big deer in a bachelor group, or hope you do. And that's what I'm hoping to find today. And then, of course, as we get into hunting season, of course, where we're hunting them, where we're killing them. Look, most all of our cameras are up. First and foremost, food plots and feeders. Secondly, scrapes or a trail coming to a spot like that.
And that's more of like pre-rut going into post-rut right. later in the season.
So we did that last year with that big deer we were hunting. We're trying to figure out where they're coming from. Okay, he was here. He comes here a lot. He must be living over here. Trying to pinpoint. And how do you get him in front of the camera? Well, in the pre-rut and stuff, you put it on a scrape. Put it on a really good trail. The scrape's probably better because you know the buck's coming by there. And when you do all that, we knew where that deer was coming. And where did he come from when I killed him? The other direction. Yeah. So you never know. But it was the peak of the rut, so who knows where he was that night.
Yeah, and pay attention to those little things. Like with a cell camera, you've got the luxury to be able to check moon phase, wind. And look, you may be sitting there thinking, you know, you got this deer coming every night to your feeder. All right, I'm just waiting on that north wind, Well, if you've got 2 or 3 pictures of hot weather and it's a south wind and he's showing up at that feeder, you probably want to go on a south wind, actually. You know, just move your stand to the other side or something.
If you can get away with it, you know. And here's another point early season bringing up. Now, something I do around here with the product Crave from Backwoods, and look, this stuff works. I'm not just pushing the product. This stuff works. I use it. They've both seen me use it bunches of times. So, like this time of year when I'm going to fill those feeders, there's a bottle of Crave in the back of my truck right now. I'm going to spray it around the feeder. On these places, I've been doing this for years, so they know that Crave smell means fresh feed. So when we go hunting and our wind's a little bit iffy, we spray it all over our boots and all up in the tree. In fact, the big deer I killed 2 years ago, you can see there's a bottle of Crave in the tree blocking the shot for a second. But that's, you know, the little things like that you can do when you're conditioning your deer to feeders and food plots this time of year. You know, we said we're putting them on. We're putting the cameras on feeders, food plots, scrapes. You know, that's really about it for me. You know, I've gotten here, especially in the Midwest and some in the South now, 2 scrape trees. You know, to like put out in the middle of a food plot around my hunting spots. They're fun. You get a lot of deer coming to them. You can get some unique pictures. I like that. But primarily, I'm putting mine in and around food sources or transition into food sources. And I really want to know, my cameras during the fall I've got inventory. My cameras during the fall is how can I kill him?
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, you got different goals, different times of the year for your inventory. And it goes back to those little details, right? When you're taking inventory, don't just think, okay, well, he showed up here this night. So no, look at why. Why was he here at night? And look at maybe 2 different cameras, right? If he's 400 yards away from the feeder on a scrape, okay, in the daylight on a certain barometric pressure and wind, and then he's showing up, you know, totally different at the feeder, look at the difference, because that could tell you where he is all the other times too. Narrow down his living room.
That's right. And it's just fun when you're trying to figure these deer out and all the stuff, and it's just fun. I get fired up even thinking about I can't wait to go check those trail cameras today. All right, Caleb, what was your next question? We did feeders, food plots. What was the next?
That was the third.
That was
cameras.
Oh, cameras. Okay. Okay. Well, I had me a little list of things too. I did the real estate report. We talked about the summer plot. Minerals. Look, don't overthink minerals. Lick and Grow from Backwoods. It smells really good. And it's got a lot of the same stuff that like a trace mineral block or things like that. If you're going to feed them minerals, don't just feed them the white salt blocks. Feed them trace minerals. That way you're doing good for your deer, not just attracting them. I think, you know, if you buy like the Backwoods, and there's some other companies that make good stuff, you know, the deer may come to them a little more because they're a little sweeter. They're designed for that. Now, you can go put a cattle mineral block out, and it works. Yep. They may not come to it as much. Hit cancel on that printer over there, Hunter. We're printing something out over here.
That was the error. I didn't know what in the world that was.
So that's it on minerals. I think minerals this time of year are an easy way for you to get some inventory on some deer. I talked about, you know, if you're going to do some food plot road work, timber cutting, anything like that, good time of the year to do it right now. So that way you can focus on more deer stuff. Something we're going to be doing here pretty quick. We got some Titan blinds we're going to be putting up, and I've got some Novik stands that I'll be putting up, you know, just getting stuff ready for the fall, man. Because, you know, once it gets September, you know, we'll be going elk hunting and we'll be getting food plots and stuff ready. So if you can take care of some of this stuff now, you're not saying, dang, I forgot to hang that stand for south wind over here, you know. I got kind of an idea, being that we're coming to the end of this podcast. Caleb, you've been on the podcast several times, and I've asked you the $100 million question before. But now I'm going to ask it to you different. All right, Caleb, you're in the lottery, and you win $100 million clean, you get $100 million bucks, and you got to buy where we sell the most, South Mississippi and into Feliciana's. What are you buying? Changes.
I tell you this, that track that you want, and I won't tell anybody where it is or what it is, but that track you want is dang good.
Right over there?
It's a little bit of both, you know, and so you get more tags, but you're on the same property. I really like, you know, the closer.
That's a Wilkinson County property he's talking about.
Yeah, Wilkinson County. Yeah, I would definitely be in Wilkinson County. You know, I think that there's probably better investment value there because you're a little bit closer to Baton Rouge long term.
Dude's got $100 million. He's investing still.
Yeah, well, you know, if you got $100 million, you can always have more. You know, you don't want to just blow it. But yeah, I really like Wilkinson County. Now, look, I love that Natchez area too. Natchez has become my home. I love that area. So for ducks, deer, and turkeys, I'd probably go find me a place over there where I could have a little bit of everything.
You could buy. You just go buy all of Southside.
I would buy every square inch of it. 100% I would. That's where I was going with it.
You'd kill a lot of ducks, a lot of turkeys, and a lot of big bucks.
Yeah. So
I would be your very much friend.
Yeah, yeah. I would buy all of Southside. That's a jam up place. I really like that place.
Would you have to go get in some? I guess you get flood ground there. So you
get some flood ground.
Yeah,
there.
You get some flood ground.
Yeah, that way I could have my gumbo mud on my boots. Feel like I'm hunting back home. Outside of that, man, I don't know. I'd probably buy some farm ground to have some residual income.
And you got that on Southside.
That's true.
You need to win the lottery.
I do need to win the lottery. That'd be a good thing for just Earth. That'd be a great thing for us.
I agree. We could do a podcast on what would you do if you win $100 million. The guy actually wins $100 million.
That's right.
So if it happens, you'll see it here.
That's right.
Well, anything else? Did we miss anything, Hunter, Caleb?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Before we get off, Hunter is going to be filming where you were filming last year, you know, all of our spots. We drew I hadn't talked about this yet. Okay, so I drew a Kansas tag and I drew an Iowa tag this year. And we got our stuff in Missouri, of course. And then we're going elk hunting too. And we're hunting around here. It's going to be a busy fall. Caleb's going to be writing a lot of contracts and holding down the fort. What should Hunter be the most excited about?
Have you ever you've been elk hunting, so you can't be too fired up about your first experience there. Now, I'll tell you, Kansas is something special. I mean, it is, I promise you've never seen anything like that. Now, I've never been to Iowa, but I'd be pretty pumped up about that too. That's going to be special. Iowa
is just, it's like the spots we've hunted in Missouri on steroids. Okay. That's it. It's just like, it's like the next level of Missouri.
Yeah.
You know, it's Missouri with no rifles.
You should be fired up about Kansas, probably above everything else. I was going to say maybe if you were going to elk hunting, you know, if you'd never heard that bugle or something, but you've been there and done that. So Kansas is something different. That's a different breed.
Well, first of all, we're going to be in elk country in not too long. Hope y'all been working out and running. You know, I'm just saying, who's going to carry the boats and the logs? Because I've been doing it. I mean, just saying. But who's going to carry the elk and the rice bran? We got that elk hunt, but before we do that, we're going in a couple of weeks and we're going to film and do a podcast up there. We're going to Iowa, actually, where we're going to be hunting with the UC Hunting Properties crew and Expedition Land Management crew, and we're going to be looking at some of the spots we're hunting. And man, I've already been seeing some videos. I'm super excited because Kurt and them live and breathe it. That's why me and Kurt hit it off so much. They live and breathe it like we do down here up there. They're not just. They get a little like almost nerdy with it. Like it's kind of cool. Well, we get nerdy with it too. You know, that's what I'm saying. So they get with. So I can't wait to learn. You know, because there's so much we can learn from each other, especially all the knowledge. Because they're like me up there in the fact of I have so many clients and places I've worked on that you gather knowledge from a lot of places. Trial and error. And you're not having to do it just yourself with your clients and people that are doing it. And they're doing the same with their land management. You know, hey, this is working over here. This is working over here. Man, did you hear what he's doing? That's definitely working. And so I get to go pick his brain for a couple of days. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. In typical White Shades fashion, I told him, I said, look, Kurt, I know that y'all are all hunting 200s and 190s. You know, that's what they do because they live up there. I said, look, you know that 150, 160? He comes to the field every day and y'all don't even hardly stop on the camera. I said, you just put me right there. I'll be out of your hair first afternoon.
Cram.
Done.
Not even think twice about it.
Just smoke him. And I tell you what, Kurt or any of them can kill a Mark, Kenneth, any of them can kill a 200 the same day, and their smile won't be any bigger on their faces than me.
It's a fact.